Welcome to The Critical Path, Project Management and Leadership in Complex Environments, the podcast where we explore how leadership and project management come together to deliver complex projects when failure simply isn't an option. I'm your host, Isaac Alcaide. Episode 9. Important, not urgent. Prioritizing what truly matters in complex environments. This is the episode for today. I have to admit I really enjoy working and preparing this episode. It was really good fun. Let's start. In complex projects and high pressure environments, prioritization is rarely about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. Yet, day after day, leaders find themselves reacting. Emails, meetings, escalations, deadlines. Everything feels urgent. And the truly important work quietly slips into the background. This episode explores one of the most powerful and misunderstood ideas in leadership and project management: the difference between urgent and important. When complexity increases, uncertainty grows, and stakes are high. Poor prioritization doesn't just reduce efficiency, it actively creates risk. To navigate this, we'll explore a simple but profound framework that helps leaders cut through noise, regain control, and make intentional decisions under pressure. We'll look at how this framework applies in real-world project environments where trade-offs are unavoidable and clarity is hard-won. If you've ever felt busy but not effective, reactive instead of deliberate, this episode is for you. One of the most widely used tools for prioritization is the Eisenhower matrix, sometimes called the urgent important matrix. Despite its simplicity, it remains one of the most effective ways to structure decision making in complex environments. The matrix divides tasks into 4 quadrants. 1. Urgent and important, crisis, critical issues, time-sensitive problems. 2. Important but not urgent, strategic work, planning, risk reduction, capability building. 3. Urgent but not important, interruptions, meetings, low value demands. 4. Neither urgent nor important, distractions, busy work, noise. Most leaders spend the majority of their time in quadrant 1, urgent and important, and quadrant 3, urgent but not important. Things that shout the loudest get attention. Emails marked urgent, last-minute requests, and planned issues all demand immediate response. Over time, this creates a cycle of firefighting. The paradox is this: quadrant 2, important but not urgent, is where long-term success lives. Yet, it is also the easiest quadrant to ignore because nothing is forcing action today. Quadrant 2 includes activities like strategic planning, risk identification and mitigation, stakeholder alignment, capability development, process improvement, reflection and learning. These activities don't feel urgent until they are neglected for too long. Then they suddenly become crises. Let's jump into why prioritization breaks down in complex environments. In complex systems, cause and effect are not always clear. Small decisions can have delayed or disproportionate impacts. This makes urgency deceptive. What looks minor today may carry significant downstream consequences. Additionally, complexity introduces multiple stakeholders with competing priorities, incomplete or evolving information, tight coupling between systems, political and organizational pressure. Under these conditions, leaders default to responsiveness instead of intentionality. Being busy becomes a proxy for being effective. A real world example: critical design review under pressure. Imagine a large engineering program approaching a critical design review. The schedule is tight. Multiple work streams are behind plan. Senior stakeholders are demanding updates. In the weeks leading up to the review, the project team becomes consumed by preparing slide pack, responding to daily status requests, chasing minor documentation issues, attending back-to-back coordination meetings. And all of this feels urgent, and much of it is. But one activity keeps being postponed: a structure cross-discipline review to examine system integration assumptions. It's important, but it's not urgent. No one is asking for it in an open way. During the design review, a fundamental integration issue is raised. It was foreseeable, the data existed, but the time to explore it never seemed available. The result: loss of stakeholder confidence, design rework, program delay, increased cost. This is a classic quadrant 2 failure. The team was busy, responsive, and exhausted. Yet the most important work was left undone. How should we apply the framework deliberately? The Eisenhower matrix is not about labeling tasks after the fact. It's about actively designing how you spend your time. Effective leaders do 3 things differently. First, they intentionally protect time for important, not urgent work. They treat it as non-negotiable, not optional. Second, they reduce urgent, not important tasks by delegating, declining, or redesigning processes. Not every meeting needs to exist. Not every email needs an immediate response. Third, they work to prevent urgency by investing in foresight, alignment, and learning. This is how organizations move from reactive to resilient. In complex environments, prioritization is less about speed and more about judgment. The goal is not to eliminate urgency, that's unrealistic, but to ensure it doesn't dominate decision making. Going to reflect about everything I've said so far. Yes, one of the hardest leadership disciplines is resisting urgency. It feels uncomfortable to slow down when others are rushing. It can feel risky to focus on work that doesn't produce immediate visible output. But real leadership is not measured by how fast you respond. It's measured by the quality of outcomes you enable over time. Quadrant 2, important but not urgent work, often happens quietly. There are no alarms, no applause, no immediate rewards. Yet it's precisely this work that reduces risk, builds trust, and creates sustainable performance. If you reflect honestly on your own workload, ask yourself, what important work am I postponing because it doesn't feel urgent yet? This question alone can be transformative. To conclude, in complex environments, prioritization is not a productivity trick. It's a strategic capability. The Eisenhower matrix gives us a simple language to describe a universal problem, confusing urgency with importance. When leaders allow urgency to dominate, they trade long-term effectiveness for short-term relief. The most resilient teams are not the busiest ones. They are the ones that consistently invest in what matters before it becomes critical. As you move into your next project phase, leadership decision, or demanding week, remember this: urgent work shouts, important work whispers. The discipline of leadership is learning to listen to the whisper before it turns into a crisis. And that's everything for today. Next week, another episode of The Critical Path. Thank you. Take care. Thanks for listening to The Critical Path, project management and leadership in complex environments. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or rate the show on Spotify and share it with colleagues who work where reliability matters most. See you on the next episode of The Critical Path.